Hi, today we're talking about taking the time to repeat your message over and over again so that you become part of the customers of Vote when they're ready to buy a product and they want to buy from you. So, how do you do that? First of all, the biggest fallacy is that when you as a company or a person put out a post, put out a piece of content, whatever it may be that you're putting out there in order to attract an audience, is that people will see that first post and that you don't need to repeat that. But that's not true. I mean, we're all busy people. We are on our devices, on our computer. We're working at different times. We are scrolling through LinkedIn at different times. And how often do you go back, days and days and days of scrolling at what people have posted? The likelihood of you coming across, or as a customer, so put yourself in the customer space, as a customer, how often are you going to see those messages? Unless you are heavily remarketed to, where that message is you've come to the website and it's following you around, the likelihood of you seeing an organic post of some sort is not very high. You or seeing an email, you may see the email, you may delete it, you may not go back to it. So you haven't really taken the time to see and digest every single message that a customer or that a company puts out there. So putting yourself back in the marketer's shoes, we need to monopolize on that. And so if you put a post out, just consider that that might not be seen by your target audience. And the other thing to consider is that only 5% of the people that you're targeting at any given moment are ready in a position ready to buy a solution or to consider a solution. So you want to make sure that you are not only getting in front of those 5%, but that you're also teeing up the other 95% who aren't ready for that purchase right now, but they may be in a month, 3 months, 6 months. So how do you tackle all this? How do you repeat your message over and over again to the point where you're not oversaturating the market, but that you are reaching the people that you want to reach? So the first thing is throw away that old adage of post once and walk away. One and dones aren't going to get it done. Let's just be honest. So how do we get around this? So first of all, time. When you're looking at campaigns, don't consider a campaign 2 weeks or a month or 6 weeks. I've seen this happen with a lot of companies, is that they put all this time and effort and investing in a campaign. They put it out for 3 to 4 weeks and they're not getting the return they want. That's a tactical campaign, and you're likely not to see a lot of traction with that because you have to give people time to become trustworthy of your brand, build that brand affinity. And it may take them 3 months to figure out that they want to download that asset or read your post, because you have to build in that trust and they may not be ready right now. So build your campaigns over a 6-month period. Keep hitting those messages over and over again in different ways. And I'll talk about the different ways to do that in a bit. Then you want to make sure that this is a long game. So when you're talking about a long game, I often see people using the platforms in which they're posting, and they use the analytics. Like, for instance, Google may tell you the best time to reach this audience is during this day at this time. So you regularly post on that day at that time. But please take into consideration that they're using an algorithm that is now an average that is offered to you. So if you're targeting an audience that is, like, say, a couple of million people, and you're only targeting during this one period of time, that average is not taking into consideration all those other times that maybe are not optimal, but they're still going to get you in front of that audience. You need to be there. So what you should do is, in a campaign, is not always post during the optimal times that these platforms tell you. You want to vary those times. This is emails, these are social posts, these are, putting an article out, all of that. There's a little cyclicality, blah, blah, blah. But be regular, be consistent, and be persistent. and make sure that you're varying the days, the times, the cadence, the content that you're offering on all of these channels. So look at it as a long game of when that content needs to be distributed. Be realistic. So this goes back to what I said about time. People put things out for a certain period of time. If it's not working within 3 weeks, sometimes they trash it or they remix it and they wonder why they're not getting, all these qualified leads within those 3 weeks. It takes time. Rome wasn't built in a day, but it has sustained over time. So you want to make sure that you're being realistic in your expectations. If you give it 3 weeks versus 3 months, you're going to be a lot happier with the results that you get, because it takes a while to build up that momentum and that flywheel so that people are starting to see it, because it's going to take a lot of exposure for somebody to build brand affinity with your company. And so give them that time. Otherwise, you're a flash in the pan and they're not going to trust that you're coming back. Content. So a lot of companies spend a lot of money working on one asset. Or a bunch of tiny little tactical pieces. The tactical pieces maybe are great for top of the funnel type of activities and getting, exposure and pulling people in. But quickly, people want to move down the funnel. They are investigating, they're educating themselves. They want to get as much content as possible out of you. And so if you're only focused on those very tactical pieces, or one big asset that only is really good for a short period of time, then you're doing yourself a disservice. What I would recommend, and this is also something that LinkedIn has recommended, so if you want to check out their research, is that the tactical stuff is on their ladder of content at the very bottom, which means that it's fulfilling basic needs, but it's not as you move up the ladder, then you're fulfilling what people really are looking for in a partner when they buy products, or they're looking for something that is continuous and it's a great investment and it stands the test of time. So if you can invest in those high quality pieces that will last, for a year, or people rely on it time after time. You can see this from, like, Gartner puts out their Magic Quadrant, or CrowdStrike puts out a threat survey or report, and they've done that over a period of time. And I can guarantee when they first started out, they probably had very few hits. Now they're like groundbreaking pieces that then they can create derivative pieces from. They can have series of webinars covering all of these different topics. They can create infographics, emails galore, posts over a period of time. Those things don't go away. And so and that also solidifies the brand with the piece. So you're getting like a twofer in all of these pieces. So it's very worth the investment to do that. And also maturity. So when you're looking at the content that you're putting together, you want to make sure that you are maturing in the market, that you're not only always focused on those little pieces, that you're bringing all of the things that you're learning together, and you mature as a company in your messages, your content, your cadence, and satisfying what the customer wants. So those are my tips. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to discuss.